Hello, great people. May Nigeria not happen to you is indeed a serious prayer as Federal High Court sentenced Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment. On this episode of Politics with Joshua Plug, I will be telling you what Kanu's trial and conviction tells and teaches us, and I will be coming from three perspectives. The perspective one is I will be discussing the case, the judge, and the judgment. That is one. The case, the judge, and the judgment. The second is I will be talking about the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu that instituted the charge and is in charge of securing lives and properties in Nigeria. And the third one, I will be talking about Nnamdi Kanu himself. What this trial and conviction, what it tells and teaches us, I will be coming from these three perspectives. If you are watching me, you are yet to subscribe, make sure you subscribe to this channel and give me about 10 to 15, not up to 20 minutes of your time. Let us dissect these issues together. First, may Nigeria not happen to you. It's a serious prayer. Omoyele Sowore talk am, and I'm shocked that what Omoyele Sowore said came to pass exactly how we said it. And in a moment, I will read you a paragraph of what Omoyele Sowore said some time ago. And to my greatest shock, it came to pass just as Omoyele Sowore said it. Let me read it to you. Then I will read to you the offense that led to Kanu's conviction. I'll just give you a summary of it. Then I will go to the case, the judge, and the judgment. Now let me read what Omoyele Sowore wrote just few days before the judgment. Let me read what he wrote to you. Sowore wrote, he said, James Omotosho, I'm just speaking a paragraph from it. James Omotosho, he says, for the avoidance of doubt, let me read two paragraphs. For the avoidance of doubt and to alert the public, it has become clear that a secret decision has long been reached within the official Ba'ath regime regarding the fate of Nnamdi Kanu. The plan devised through a high-level political conspiracy is to either sentence him to death or condemn him to life imprisonment. This outcome predetermined far in advance is now being dressed up in the guise of judicial procedure. Justice James Omotosho is expected to conclude Kanu's trial by declaring that his refusal to open defense amounts to an admission of guilt, a convenient interpretation designed to seal a verdict already agreed upon behind closed doors. The ruling is anticipated this November, a month that bears a haunting historical precedent, one of Nigeria's most haunting tragedies. It was in November 1995 that the military tribunal of General Sani Abacha sentenced Saruwiwa and 8 other Ogoni activists to death, a sentence carried out with ruthless precision. Now tell me, my dear people, all these things that Omoyele Sowore wrote days before the judgment, which one did not come to pass? And that is why I am shocked that Omoyele Sowore predicted it and it came to pass. Is the government guilty as accused by Sowore? Now let us go into the offense that led to the conviction. I will just give you the three offenses, just a summary of it. Then I will tell you what I feel about the case, the judge, and the judgment. Now, the offense that leads to the conviction, some of you that are not aware of it, it says 7-count charge. Now, count one. That count one is leading IPOB and broadcasting messages about secession on Radio Biafra. That is count one, and this happened between 2014 to 2015. Count two, broadcasting false and defamatory statement against Major General Muhammadu Buhari. This is on 28 April 2015. I beg, where the Buhari now? Tell me in the comment section, where Buhari? The Buhari, where did they talk for you? Where am? Now, count three, importing and concealing a radio transmitter in Anambra State. Count four, broadcasting as a member of IPOB, a proscribed organization. Count five, inciting actions against security personnel via Radio Biafra, an act considered terrorism. Count six, threatening a serious act of harm. Count seven, issuing a sit-at-home threat that disrupted Eastern Nigeria. That is the count. Now, let us go into the case, the judge, and the judgment. First, you see, as regards this case, I noticed something, which is that this case could have been resolved if government wanted to have been resolved It could have been resolved if the leader of the Southeast are serious about having it resolved. There's nothing that is not unresolvable in Nigeria. That is one thing that I've come to realize. Say one thing, when even bandits, murderous S-men, Boko Haramis, we kill, where we say the people, where we say they kill their families, still they are alive. Government of Nigeria during Buhari regime still pardon them. Not only pardon them, they sue Ashwebi for them. Not only that, they kind of like gave them employment into the Nigerian army, the Nigerian police, and other agencies of government. If that can happen in the 21st century, definitely it shows one thing, that Nigeria, anything can be resolved if you have the right people to resolve it, and nothing is unresolvable in Nigeria. Because tell me, what offense can be greater than the act of terrorism perpetrated by the Boko Haramis and some of these ISWAP guys? Now, the judge, also for Justice James Omotosho, while he was reading the judgment, I noticed something about him, and I can just say he's a human being. There are some times that his tension will rise. There are some times that he will say some words with emphasis, particularly when speaking about the personality of Nnamdi Kanu. The judge feels insulted by the conduct of Nnamdi Kanu. But one thing I noticed is that I would have preferred if the judge had not, go back and forth on the personality of Nnamdi Kanu. I believe that, and even if he wants to do that, he should have said it in, in a kind of like mild way, in such a way that he no go appear say, what Kanu do as Kanu dey unruly to you? You no go appear say he touch you for body. That is what I see as regards the judge. Another thing as regards that judge is that the live broadcast of that particular judgment, it couldn't have been done without the consent of the presiding judge, which is Justice James Omotosho. Now, the broadcast couldn't have been done without his approval. The big question is, who paid for the broadcast, particularly on private TV stations? Who paid for those broadcasts? That's one thing we need to ask ourselves. The channels TV, did they bring their recording and their staff to the premises of the court to spend all the whole day in court to listen to the judgment of the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu, just because they just want to publicize it? Because some of you don't know something. Say airtime for TV, they cheap at all. Airtime on TV is one of the most expensive things that you can have. So for me, reading now the judgment, I believe that who paid for the broadcast? I think that is a question. Who paid for that particular broadcast? Another thing, as regards the substance of the judgment, is that, my dear, make I no lie you. You want to hear the truth? Do you really want to hear the truth? That judgment, I listened to some part of it, and what that judgment taught me is that in Nigeria at the moment, you can be convicted for what you say, not necessarily what you do. In the sense that the judge convicted Nnamdi Kanu mainly based on his orations. He said this, he said that. But while the judge was reading out the judgment, I was expecting that that the judge will make reference to people that Nnamdi Kanu's oration had influenced, in the sense that they said Kanu incited violence. The violence led to the dying of some people. Fine. Now, if that is the position of the court, in the wisdom of the court, I'm not going to argue it. But then, while reading the judgment, I expect that those that Kanu's statement has influenced, the judge will reference them as witness. Most things that the judge was referencing is the testimonies of DSS personnel. I was expecting that testimonies of citizens of the Southeast that were affected by Kanu's conduct and action will be referenced in that particular judgment. I didn't see much of that, or should I say I saw little or nothing in that regard, in the sense that if you say Kanu's action influenced some people, where are the people that Kanu's action influenced? I would have loved if they bring people to court and the person said that, if they bring people to court and the person says that I'm not a radical person before, but when I listened to Kanu's broadcast, I became radicalized, and Kanu's broadcast influenced me to take so action. But that is missing as regards the judgment. Again, who paid for that live broadcast? Because I have some like close relationship with some media personnel, and I've appeared on any relevant TV in Nigeria except TVC. So the big question is that despite airtime being expensive, who paid for the broadcast live on TV? Is it Kanu? Is it his family? Is it government? Or is it a free broadcast from the TV stations? I hope that we'll get answers to this in the days ahead. But let me tell you something. Whenever a judgment is broadcast on TV, the outcome will most likely be against the defendant and in favor of the government. Take note of this thing from today. May God spare our life. Whenever a judgment is being broadcast on TV, just know that that judgment would most likely be against the defendant, particularly if it is federal government of Nigeria versus so and so, or if it is an election tribunal. If it is an election tribunal, just know, say, that man where they swear in for that particular election, we don't dey in power, that judgment go favor am. It happened during the Buhari era. The judgment favored Buhari. It happened during Tinubu era. The judgment favored Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So just know that most times, if judgment is being broadcasted, it is in favor of the government, and that usually happens when government is trying to justify the conviction to a displeased public. If the government believe that this judgment, if it's not broadcasted, the public will be displeased, government will try to justify that particular judgment by influencing it to be broadcasted live, hoping that if people watch it, then they will be convinced about the action of the government and they will be pleased with the judgment that is given in that particular case. That is one thing that I need you to notice. Now, let us go to the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You know, I promised you at the beginning of this video that I will talk about the case, the judge, and the judgment, which I've done. I promised you three things. One, the case, the judge, and the judgment. Two, I will speak about the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then I will speak about Nnamdi Kanu. Now, two, the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, can there now be rule of law? In the sense that the reason why you try Kanu is that you want the protection of life and security, like life and properties, particularly of people in the southeast. Okay, no wahala, you don't do it, right? Can there now be the true rule of law? What do I mean by that? What I mean by true rule of law is that bandits, terrorists, Boko Haramists, all these insurgent, murderous herdsmen that are imposing taxes and levies, that are committing a lot of atrocities, these people should also be raided and prosecuted. That is rule of law. Rule of law means equality before the law. Why I'm against the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as regards this case of Nnamdi Kanu is one, lack of rule of law, two, selective justice. Both are interwoven. Lack of rule of law in the sense that you cannot try Kanu, keep him in serial detention, go to Kenya to bring him to Nigeria, while there are people that have committed worst offenses. Sunday Igboho committed a related offense. In this murderous S-men, bandits, and all these people, they committed grievous offenses, the Boko Haram guys. So rule of law is that try everybody. If court set you free, now your luck. So rule of law is equality before the law. In this instance in Nigeria, there is no equality before the law. And that itself gives me a source of worry, because if you don't practice the rule of law, the ghost of Biafra will resurrect. If you jail Nnamdi Kanu, even if you buy him today, there are so many people that have believed in the cause of Biafra. They have read the Ojukwu story. Some of them are alive. They've seen some of the injustice that Kanu is preaching, and they have seen it. And this injustice, what have you done to address it? And I'll come back to that in a moment. So for me, rule of law should be applied, and there should be no selective justice. No one is above the law. Now, when you don't try Kanu, it's okay. Can you now go to the bandits? Can you now go to the terrorists? The people that are committing a lot of atrocities, that are taking over people's land? Can you now look beyond political correctness? Can you now look beyond religion? Can you now look beyond ethnic political affiliation? Can you now move as a government to imbibe the rule of law and avoid selective justice? Now, let me go to another one. The other leg of justice must be delivered, which is addressing the grievances that led to Kanu's agitation. You see, we are deceiving ourselves. If you sentence Kanu, but you did not address the grievance that led to his agitation, you will be deceiving yourself, because a lot of Nnamdi Kanu will resurrect. When they imprisoned and later he died under controversial circumstances, Isaac Adakaboro of the Niger Delta, Ken Saro-Wiwa evolved. After Ken Saro-Wiwa was killed by the Abacha government, the Niger Delta militants evolved. So what are you doing as a government to address some of the grievances raised by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? That, I think, is very important, if not more important than the judgment itself. If the grievances are not addressed, another Nnamdi Kanu will emerge. And one thing I can say is that most Igbos do not have pro-Kanu leaders. Most Igbo, most of the leaders in Igbo land are not pro-Kanu. If they are pro-Kanu, definitely Nnamdi Kanu would have been released. Now, let me go to Kanu himself. For Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I would have loved if Kanu had applied a bit of decorum in court, in the sense that you need to fight with wisdom, in the sense that you going to court to fight every day, and they have assigned a judge for you, the judge that was handling the case before, you had an argument with that judge. It will now appear as if it is becoming habitual. And don't forget that when the cameras are there, these people, they know how to frame all these things. You are not a lawyer, but some of the prosecutor, Aromol or something like that, SAN, they know how to use these things against you. And when the judge was even reading the judgment, he made reference that Kanu's conduct was serially unruly. Not unruly, serially unruly, which means that it was happening back to back. So I would have loved if Kanu had defended himself vigorously but not act unruly. The judge made reference that there was a case when Kanu was speaking. Nnamdi Kanu beat his lawyer, that he lay his hands on his lawyer and gave that one a dirty smack, that he shouldn't talk while he is talking. In all fairness, you cannot do that to somebody that is representing you. That itself speaks to a character that you need to amend. But in all of this, I believe that Nnamdi Kanu deserves to be set free, not necessarily because of what he did, but because of the current situation of Nigeria, in the sense that you cannot do selective justice. And that is where I stand. Whether Kanu is right or wrong, I don't know. It is between him and the court and his God. But looking at what is going on in Nigeria, where bandits are coming for peace deal, not be some people just go buy people unnecessarily. So why can't we now temper justice with mercy on the part of Nnamdi Kanu? And for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the pardon where you dey grant, can you now extend it to Nnamdi Kanu? And one thing is that I don't like the ethnic coloration of the trial. The judge, the Attorney General of the Federation, the head of the DSS, the head of the police, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the president, everybody is from a tribe, which is the Yoruba tribe. I don't like that. I would have loved a mix of tribe. Let some people be from Ibibio, some people from Ijo, some people from the northern tribe, the Hausa Fulanis, some people from Igbo itself. That would have given the trial and conviction a more national image in terms of reflecting what the trial is, which is Federal Republic of Nigeria versus Nnamdi Kanu. But in the whole trial and conviction, it appears to be ethnic. The federal wasn't reflected in the trial and conviction, and that gave me a little bit of concern. But I wish Nnamdi Kanu the best, and I just hope that the government of Nigeria will be able to resolve this amicably between Nnamdi Kanu and the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I hope the Igbo leaders will rise for Nnamdi Kanu. Sorry that this video is a bit long. I just need to dissect the issues as it comes to mind. Let me know your impression in the comment section, and let me know if you watch it to this level. It's been a moment of reflection with you on this episode of Politics with Joshua Blog, Dr. Omoshola. Subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos. See you in my next video. I love you all sincerely.